Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're gonna talk about DJI Ronin 4D. So let's dive right into it. Now, this is a very new type of camera, and if you have watched any other press release on this puppy, is that people are very excited about this. Very renewed interest has been created by this camera. Well, you have to understand this camera is trying to be a cinema camera. However, it's also trying to be all-in-one, meaning it's almost like all-in-one printer, quote unquote. So it's a kind of new way of making cinema camera, because before this, cinema cameras were like, try to strip down as much as possible. Don't give this, don't give that. You have to buy this, buy that. Like, to some extent, it does make sense. It's like, only buy it if you need it, but reality from manufacturing point of view, everything becomes ludicrously expensive. So this is taking a bit of different approach, where they're like, how about I give you everything that you actually need? So it's a different approach, and it has 4K variant and 8K variant. 4K variant is around $7,200, and 8K variant is around $11,500, which is a boatload of money, as in like you are talking about 10 lakh rupees in India. That's assuming it directly translates 1 to 1, but it might be even larger than that. It has an interchangeable lens mount, even though the company itself has created a new lens mount, which is DL mount system. They are also providing adapters from DL mount to other system. Not DL mount would be correct way of saying that. There is a base plate which you can replace and you can connect it to other lens system, for example E mount or RF glass, things of that nature. Because the flange distance is so slim, it can be done. And it is a 35mm full frame CMOS sensor, which is very desirable nowadays, because every Tom, Dick and Harry wants a shallow depth of field, and like there are some external benefits also of using full frame systems. So people do want to use that, especially in this sort of price bracket. The fact that you can just utilize your normal non-cine lenses, basically lenses from your mirrorless camera kits, is actually desirable. And it is a modular setup, so even though like they're trying to give you everything as possible, the back side is the modular part, meaning the back could be a very simple battery, it could be a wireless kit, it could be a wireless kit plus the basically microphone and STI output. So it does have some modularity. It's not like just everything tacked onto it. It does have a lot of modularity built into it, but from a consumer point of view, it's a much different compared to Red or RE, where it's like, no, we are trying to give you everything possible, and you just have to select like a 1 or 2 back plates, exactly which back plate that you want. Now you have to understand the performance wise, this camera is more or less similar to how full frame L mount Alliance Panasonic camera works, basically SH1 or things of that nature. It's not very great, it's not also terrible. It's like, if you are competent enough, this puppy will deliver. And this has basically a camera which has inbuilt 4-axis gimbal. Now you have to understand, gimbals are only do rotational axis, meaning if you take like this, rotation would be like this, and like this. So that's what a gimbal does. So if you are taking a gimbal and you are walking, your camera is stable, but it has that bounce up and down, because rotation cannot fix that. You need translation, and that's the fourth part in this. It's not time traveling, it's just like there's a head into that, like that head is going up and down. So when you are taking a camera and you are walking, you have the luxury of doing that. You can't do that with normal gimbal, because it will bounce up and down, up and down, up and down. That's a human natural motion, and rotation cannot compensate for that. Translation can. So that fact that it has fourth robotic arm allows you to do many things that you could not have done with other systems. For example, even if you have, let's say, amazing cinema camera with amazing 3-axis gimbal system, you still had to use tracks, you still had to use dolly in order to give that smooth flow. Because if you had actually tried to do that handheld, yes, it will work, yes, it will not be blurry, but it will have that motion, that swinging up and down motion would be there. So this puppy can cancel that out. That flat out makes this very desirable. That's why this gimbal is like such a big deal. It's like, ta-da! The moment you put that, that simply means any Tom, Dick and Harry, hold it in hand and just walk. Just walk with it. Don't think too much about it. Just walk with it. That is very crucial. That is like, you don't need tracks. People are like, walking, carrying this handheld through stairs, and the output is still good. That's awesome. So fundamentally speaking, that alone makes it like, for many people, is like, shut up and take my money. Like, there is no discussion. Just for that fact that you can actually do run and gun setup, awesome. Then you have LiDAR for autofocus, which ironically make this puppy better than Panasonic system, simply because LiDAR development has been turbocharged because of autopilot cars and vacuum cleaners. So this is basically more closer to vacuum cleaner rather than a car grade, but this does have autofocus. Benefit of this is that because sensor autofocus, while it's the most amazing output, it does require boatload of computation power. To give you a context of that, a company like Nikon had hard time figuring that out, and only now they have released a super expensive flagship camera camera that can actually compete. So it's a very difficult. It may look easy for us because like we have Sony that can do that, we have Canon that can do that, but it does take insane amount of computation power to do that. So their approach is like, how about we remove that? How about we remove subject tracking and object tracking? Is just like have a physical third data point which is doing the tracking, like a LiDAR system. So it does work, but be mindful, even though the autofocus is quite good, quite reliable, it does have one consequence. It focuses things that are very close to you. So if you are wearing a hat, it will focus on the brim of the hat. If you have very long nose, it will focus on the nose tip. It's not an eye autofocus. So let's be real over here. So you have to understand, a LiDAR autofocus is really good from a cinema camera point of view. It will smoke any cinema camera, but and you can also support old manual lenses. Now be very mindful, because they are specifically targeting and calibrating this data point for DJI lenses. If you mount a DJI lens, everything is GG. The moment you mount other lenses like E-mount or that, you have to create a calibration chart for the basically camera, where camera is like, okay, 10 feet means this much, 10 feet, 20 feet means this much. So it can use that lens properly. So that is something, and be mindful, it will never be as smooth as like, you know, first party lens. So there is some limitation to this LiDAR system, but it does allow to work. And if you spend time in calibration, and if the result is good enough, because they have created a list where they're like, you know, these lenses we have tested out, all lenses should work, but these lenses they have tested out, it should give you a good result. So in those sort of scenarios, including old manual lenses, you can utilize. That is very desirable for today's run and gun environment. And it also has wireless remote view and control. This is another aspect that people need to have it. Like, you buy a camera, sooner or later you're gonna buy a wireless display system. Now here's the problem with that, is like, those wireless systems generally never come from the first party. They are always from second party or third party. So that creates a consequence where it's like, it's not a coherent system. Basically, you have the camera, you have the display. That's not how it works. It's like, you have a camera, you have a battery, you have a different transmitter section that hopefully uses V-mount battery, or hopefully is directly running off of that. You have to deal with all of that. Then you will have a wireless setup that you have to deal with all that, and then you will have wireless remote control setup which will allow you to do some other things. This, on the other hand, is completely different. They are like, from day one they focused to make this puppy has almost like 50 Mbps of bandwidth transfer between camera and wireless headset. And because it was built from day one, it also has proper remote function, meaning every control, meaning you can utilize touch screen on a wireless device to control your camera, which is like, for many people, for many flat out industry professionals, it's like, you are telling me that I can buy this camera and I can get just buy a system which is made by the same company, and it has touch screen which is wireless, and it allows me to completely control the camera remotely. They will simply say, shut up and take my money. Like that alone, the fact that it is integrated, the fact it has that fourth axis integrated, the fact that it has a LiDAR focus freaking integrated into that, that's the USP around this camera. You have to understand that we have like, from as early as like 2010s, cinema cameras were very good. I'm talking digital cinema camera. 2015, yeah, at that point in time, if you're complaining about digital cinema camera, you are doing something wrong. By 2020, it's like done. Like, all cinema camera has reached what we call saturation point, meaning, yeah, you can get something bit better, but it's not gonna be whoa. It's like, okay, it's like, you know, oh, you did 4K last year, now you are 4.5K. It's like, okay. So this, on the other hand, is not trying to be the best in the terms of image quality. It's trying to like, how about we make a camera that is easy to use, including the memory system. They have used a compact fast type 2 card, which is very good but very expensive. So they are like, what if we give you USB-C port? Awesome. What if we give you a SD that we are developing, a SSD basically we are developing from our side, which directly has USB-C port. So if you pull it out, put it on a computer, USB-C, direct editing. Awesome. Like, Red should really learn from that. So that's the reality of it. The USP in this camera is not in terms of, wow, the next next chapter in performance. It's like next chapter in usability. Every Tom, Dick and Harry who is using this is like, you know, shut up and take my money. So for what kind of people this camera is targeted? Well, small budget and a small crew. This is one of the critical aspects. Yes, like, this can be done. Like, if you wanted to do this sort of scene in a professional Bollywood Bollywood movie or Hollywood movie, it will take you like 5 or 6 crew just with the camera holding person, camera focus puller, wireless setup guy, village, like boatload of people. You would not even think about it. Like, that's how many people it takes just to operate the goddamn camera. So the fact that this supports small budget, basically TV shoots, low budget Netflix movies. Netflix also has tiers, be mindful of that. It's not everything in the Netflix has like, you know, multi-billion-dollar budget. Some have like, you know, low budget, some have like boatload of budget. So it is suited for small budget. It has luxurious that will make your life much easier, which will allow smaller crew to accomplish a lot of things, which is desirable, and really good for run and gun. Like every camera tries to do this. It's like, run and gun, but you have to worry about extra battery, you have to worry about extra gimbal system, you have to worry about extra wireless control system. This is like, shut up and take my money. It's like, I'm actually good for that. That is awesome. And even the fact that they thought of it, how about we put integrated ND filter into this? Amazing. So they did that. So that's the reality of it. It's like every aspect of this camera is like, how about we make lives of basically our user easier. So who can benefit the most? Advertisement people, because they generally have very short amount of time. It's like, from contracting, it's like, okay, you build the advertisement. It's like, yeah, 5 minutes, man, 5 minutes, where is my advertisement? It's like they want it like bam. In those sort of scenario, every minute you save in the set will be, well, boatload of money saved also. So it has that advertisement market. Documentary, you do not want to like, think about your equipment. You just want to like, hey, can you do what I want you to do? It will do that. So that is very desirable. Drone camera, because it does have good wireless function and does have good gimbal built into it, does have good but it does have one consequence which I'm like really not happy about. Is does not have a dual redundancy, meaning file is only created in one spot, which is kind of very dangerous. But I can understand this camera company is trying to fight against like RE and Red, so this sort of issues can be acceptable. Car camera, meaning you can just mount it on the side of a car and it can compensate for many of the things, or not compensate. That's also a desirable thing. You may want free floating, where it like many times for action scenes they do not want the camera to feel like absolutely stable. You may want that in some scenarios, but another scenario you may not want that, so this can do that. So it's basically a do it all kind of tool. So far I have talked awesome things about it, and I'm pretty sure if you have watched any videos about it, it's like, whoa, this is the next amazing thing. And it is, in terms of usability, in terms of like, look Canon, looks Sony, this is what you can do. It is tangibly miles ahead of what every Tom, Dick and Harry is doing, basically, including Blackmagic also. So it's really good for that. However, it's not at best at anything. For example, Sony, Canon, and basically Red, RE, these camera can easily smoke this puppy in terms of image quality, image richness, and in terms of raw, like this puppy does not stand up. Like it's good in a competent hand, it's really good, and it will not have any limitation on it. Like I can easily see this sort of camera being used as a B cam in a multiple multi-billion dollar movie set. I can see that, but it still will not be that like the A cam, the Oscar winning cam kind of scenario. So you have to spend a lot if you really want the unmatched quality. If you're like, no, I just want like this puppy to be made for IMAX projection, and without IMAX people requiring to upscale the content, yeah, there is some limitation. There is like, bro, relax. So there is some limitation. You have to understand, while this is good, while it does have full frame, in terms of frame wise, you can go even bigger in RE, and in terms of richness, color bit depth, and in terms of actual real world color transition, there are other cameras that can outsmoke this puppy. So you have to understand, if you want to better output, you need a better camera. And in terms of rig, the fact that it has that gimbal, you will see the movies have huge gimbals. I provided this guy's video. He did an interview with Potato Jet, and he's talking about like huge gimbal. And it's like, look at it, it's like, whoa. This is like multiple kilograms, not 1 kilogram, multiple kilograms, like almost half the weight of the dude. And this is a strong dude, and it's like he's wielding around this quote unquote javelin kind of thing. It's like doing all that thing. And he has done amazing work with in La La Land movie. It's like, wow. And that was the amazing part of it. Like he did most of the camera move, which people thought, oh, it was done in post-production. No, it was really done in real life. And it was like, whoa. The moment people realized that, it's like, whoa. It's like, whoa. It's like, how sometimes people have Christopher Nolan. Oh, Christopher Nolan actually did that. Like the train scene. It's like, no, he actually had a truck which had a train kind of, armor around it. And then he rammed through the roads. They're like, whoa, that was practical. Yeah. So there is a reason for that. Like if you buy a bigger, more robust, more pro grade basically gimbal setup, it does have more range to it. It does have some things that you cannot replicate with this tiny camera. So you be mindful of that. This setup is really good for low budget advertisements. Basically those sort of scenarios. There are scenarios where this camera is like, shut up and take my money, and nothing else can come close to me. But there is a reason why you still have multi-billion dollar camera equipments which are only rented. You cannot buy them. You can only rent them, including the lenses also. It's like there are like freaking waiting list for lens. I did not even knew that, but apparently there is. So be mindful of that. Like do have expectations set to it, but don't understand like it's like, oh, it's gonna beat RE or it's gonna beat Red. Yeah, that's not happening. So this was my presentation on Ronin DJI Ronin 4D. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. And if you can comment, that would be really awesome for me, because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.